Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matt and I'm here with Venush. And we're suddenly like super close to the start of next season. They actually just confirmed it today that they reached a new agreement on the CBA. So the season's going to be starting on December 22nd, a little more than a month away. Kind of crazy. And free agency starts on November 22nd. So that's coming up super close, 4 days after the draft. But before that, the draft is kind of what's on everyone's mind right now. It's in the news so much. It's kind of crazy how literally 5 minutes apart we'll get an ESPN report saying that LaMelo Ball is dropping in the draft and could fall out of the top five, and 5 minutes later it's Brian Windhorst says LaMelo Ball could be taken first overall. So there's clearly a lot of misinformation coming out of teams on purpose, not on purpose, who knows. But this should be one of the most trade filled and plot twisty drafts that we've had in a long time, and I can't wait. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna draft the whole first round, and Venusian's gonna start with the first overall pick in the Timberwolves. I'm gonna do Golden State at 2, and so on. I have no idea who he's taking. He has no idea who I'm taking, and we're gonna see. We're not gonna project trades. There's obviously gonna be a bunch of trades, but I think every team, even if they do decide to keep their pick, I think every team can make a pick that can really help them. So we're just going to keep it for now. Obviously, there's going to be some trades, but we can't predict that. So the Minnesota Timberwolves are on the clock. Who's
Yeah.
going first overall?
So with the first overall pick, I'm taking Anthony Edwards. I think it's quite obvious. You have D'Angelo Russell, you have Karl-Anthony Towns, and they're just known for not playing defense. So you want someone that's going to try on defense, someone who's going to give their all on defense, and someone who can score and can be that third option or even second option. This is kind of a fit pick. And usually with the first overall pick, it's not fit, it's just best talent. But James Wiseman plays the same position. LaMelo Ball can't play defense, and you have D'Angelo Russell already. So Anthony Edwards just fits with the two stars, make a big three for the future. That's it.
Yeah. So Edwards, not no surprise there. There are reports saying that LaMelo could go number one to the Wolves. I don't believe it for a second. He fits perfectly with that team, uh, with what he does on offense, and he could hopefully be a better perimeter defender than D'Angelo Russell is. I think that's a lock for the number one pick. Uh, some of the reports saying that Wiseman is
Yeah.
like an option from there's no way. That's all just I don't even know what that is. That's not happening. So I totally agree with that pick. I really like the fit, even though it is a fit pick. I think he's still at the first or
Yeah.
second best talent available, and it just wouldn't make sense to draft LaMelo or Wiseman. It just wouldn't make sense at all unless they trade off the pick.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Edwards off the board, coming in at number 2, the Warriors. If they decide to keep the pick, I think they can go one of two ways. It's either Wiseman or Denny Avdia, and the reports are that they love both, so no one really knows which way they want to go. And everyone says they need a center, but and which is true. But Wiseman's not going to be able to hang with Embiid and Anthony Davis and Jokic right away. So I don't think this pick is I don't think you're trying to look to fill a need with this pick. So I can see them going Avdia, but I still have them taking Wiseman at number 2. I
Yeah.
think I think he'll be good for them offensively right away. He may even start a bunch of games in the regular season for them. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near ready defensively, especially for the playoffs, but he'll be able to provide almost like I think he could basically be Lakers Dwight Howard in his first year with the Warriors. Like
Yeah.
Lakers this year, Dwight
I think
Howard in his first year
I
with
think
the Team.
he'd be a little better.
Yeah, like I think that would be the floor.
All right, so the Hornets are pretty sad with Wiseman off the board. They're the only team that made it clear who they want. They want James Wiseman. But man, I don't think Terry Rozier is a young enough player to build around. So I think he will be moved. And I think you get a chance to pair the backcourt of Devontae Graham and LaMelo Ball, which I think will be pretty interesting because LaMelo Ball could be that passer out of the
Mm-hmm.
shooting guard spot where he's 6'7", and Devontae could just shoot the lights out at the point guard spot, and they could be a good little duo for the future. And I think he just has the best potential outside of Edwards and Wiseman. Like he's the only one with like guaranteed like all-star potential. Like it's not guaranteed, but you know he has a chance to be like changing, you know what I mean? Like game breaking.
Yeah,
And I think they just take that chance.
Yeah, I agree. So if Wiseman's on the board, he's a lock for the Hornets, no
Yeah.
question. But with Wiseman off the board, I think you're right. I think Ball has to be the way to go. Some people have them taking Onyeka Kongwu. I don't agree with that. I think
Oh,
if you're Charlotte, who has not been good in forever, Kemba Walker is by far the best player they've had in who knows how long. They need if they have a shot at a guy who can be a superstar, be an all star, be a like we said, he has Hall of Fame potential. He's a huge risk, but if it's a calculated risk, and if there's one team that is can afford to take that risk, it's Charlotte.
yeah, definitely.
All right, so now coming in at number 4, the Chicago Bulls on the clock. With Ball off the board, Denny Avdija is a lock to the Bulls. He provides instant playmaking for them, something they really need. He might not start right away, but within a year or two, he's a lock for that starting 3, 4, whatever. He provides options if they want to shake it up and move off Zach LaVine, whatever. They might be able to start Kobe White because Kobe White is not a playmaker really, but Denny Avdia can provide kind of some primary playmaking out of that wing spot. I think it's just a lock to Chicago at 4 if he's there.
Yeah, he's definitely going top four. I don't know where in the top four, but he
Yeah,
is not falling past the Bulls.
yeah,
Like he's too talented to go out of the top four.
yeah,
All right, so with five, the Cavs are on the board, and the Cavs are going to pick up. They're interested between two people, and that's Obi Topping and Isaac Okoro. And I just see them picking up Isaac Okoro
hmm.
due to age. Like that's the only factor. I think they like Obi Topping's talent more, but Isaac Okoro just fits better. And they're going to be bad next year too. Like this
Yeah,
is not the year that's going to get them into the playoffs. They're going to be bad next year, so they want someone young that could develop with next year's prospect as well. That's why they're going to take Isaac Okoro, fill in that 3 and D starting small forward spot, and just build towards the future. Get those young talents in, get those young players in, and keep building.
yeah, I agree. So Toppin might be the best or the safest pick on the board, but at 22 years old, he's older than their young core already.
Yeah,
And going with Isaac Okoro fits their timeline kind of perfectly. And for a team that has had for the last couple of years absolutely zero defense, he would come in and be the best defender on the team by a mile almost right away. He would um his 3-point shot obviously needs to develop, but I think I like that pick for the Cavs because he could come in, he could guard the best player on the other team right away, and he fits with the timeline of Garland Sexton.
yeah,
All right, so coming in at number 6, we got the Hawks, and the Hawks are one of the they're rumored to want to move their pick. No one really knows which way they're going to go. They could go a number of ways, and with Wiseman and Okoro off the board, even if Okoro weren't off the board, I think they have to go with Onyeka Kongwu.
yeah,
With Clint, that provides them options. If they decide to move Clint Capella, which is kind of in the trade rumors, then they could just start a young center. They might take a hit. Their playoff chances might take a hit initially, but he fits the rest of their young core. And if they don't move off of Capella, he could develop behind him for a couple of years off the bench and put on some of that muscle, develop some of that perimeter shooting that he needs, and can kind of slide into that starting role a couple years down the road. And I think that would fit perfectly for them.
yeah. We always talk about the fit with the Hawks, and if he's all the way at 6, it's a guarantee. The only player they're unsure about in their starting five is Clint Capella. So getting a younger version of him, perfect.
Yeah, I don't mind if a Coro was there. I don't mind a Coro to the Hawks either because
Hmm.
he could come in and he would get a lot of open shots because of all the offensive weapons they have on that team, and he would be by far the best defensive player on a team that has not a ton of perimeter defenders on it.
Yeah, and now we got the most interesting selection at 7, the Detroit Pistons. I think this one's obvious. They're going Killian Hayes.
Really?
They need a point guard so badly. Derrick Rose is not going to be on this team. And getting someone who has potential to do everything just can't go one side. You give him 2 years to develop, and then you're going to get two more high prospects. and then
Hmm.
you can have a young big three, and you just hope that these draft picks work. And you just started off with Killian Hayes. You started off with a point guard because that's the most important position on the team,
Yeah.
and you just built for a future.
So the Pistons, they might be the most hopeless looking team in the league, and
Yeah,
if they, we all know, we all know the risk with Killian Hayes. Doesn't have a right hand, has a lot of limitations with his uh with with the fact that he only has a left hand. But like we said, or kind of similar to the Hornets, if there's a team that can take a risk on a point guard that has superstar potential, it's a team like Detroit. And they have another project player, Sekou Doumbouya, who looks like he could develop into a really nice player. And if both those guys pan out, they could have a really nice young core, like you said. I do agree with that pick. I thought you were going to go Obi Toppin,
yeah,
but I like that pick too.
yeah.
So somehow the Knicks ended up with the number 8 pick. Everyone said they were going to have the number 1 pick. They kind of got
Hmm.
screwed over again. And I was banking on Hayes being there for them because I thought he was going to be a lock at 8 to the Knicks because we all
Yeah,
know they need a point guard.
yeah, they do.
And then my backup for them was Isaac Okoro if he was there too.
He's not there too.
Um, so the thing is with the Knicks is they can't afford to be drafting for team fit. They just can't. Their roster
Hmm.
is horrible. They I like RJ Barrett, but I like Mitchell Robinson, but those are kind of the only two positives on their entire roster, and they have a lot of questions about them too.
Yeah,
So I was gonna say they should go with Hayes, take the risk on the guy who could be the superstar. He could be the point guard of the future, or bring in a Coro guy we know who's going to be a mature, smart defender right away. Beyond those two, I don't want to see them go Halliburton because I don't think Halliburton can be the.
oof.
I don't think he's going to be the primary ball handler of the future for them, and I don't want to see them take Patrick Williams because although he looks like he could be a really good player in the future, I think he's a little too raw.
Yeah.
I think they have to go with the sure thing. If Hayes and Okoro are off the board, I'm taking Aaron Nesmith, best shooter in the draft,
Whoa.
can come in, be probably their best offensive player right away. And even though he doesn't have the as high a ceiling as some of the other guys I mentioned, I think no matter what happens, fans are going to feel good about that pick. A guy who can come in, kind of be like maybe a Tyler Hero type player, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield type player, and fans are going to like him. And I just think they cannot afford to miss on this pick. You just have to take someone who's going to be part of your rotation for the next 5 years, 5 to 7 years. And I think Neesmith is the guy.
Yeah, the only question with Neesmith is is he identical to RJ Barrett at like frame wise? They're both 6'6",
That's
both
true.
tweeners between small forward and power shooting guard.
Yeah.
So like, can they guard bigger small forwards is the question. And it's not a bad pick because we know his work ethic's good, and you kind of need a hard work ethic to stay alive in the New York media.
Yeah.
So it's a good pick. It's different. I think a lot of people want a point guard here, like especially
So
Knicks
would
fans.
would you have gone Halliburton?
I think I would have gone Halliburton just because they need one so badly. But if they go Aaron Nesmith, Toronto Raptors fans should be scared because that means they're going all out for Fred VanVleet because they're gonna get a point guard this draft or this offseason. So yeah, if they get a non point guard, it's gonna be a Fred VanVleet in a New York Knicks jersey.
See, I obviously everyone and their grandma knows that the Knicks need a point guard, but do you want to take a risk on another Frank Ntilikina, who you think is going to
Yeah.
be the point guard of the future, waste 3 4 years on him, and then it becomes obvious that he's not the
Hmm.
point guard of the future, and you still suck? I think if the guy that you want, Hayes, is not there, then you have to take a guy who's going to be a sure thing part of your rotation for years to come.
Yeah, but also there's gonna be a lot of boos because
Yeah,
the
but
the
they booed
Wizards,
Porzingis, so
yeah, because the Wizards are gonna be so happy with their pick of Obi Topping falling all the way to 9. The Wizards fans are going to be rejoicing. They're going to be saying they got the guy, they got the big three. They're going to be so happy because now you have a starting lineup of John Wall, Bradley Beal, Rui Hachimura, Obi Topping, and their center Thomas Bryant. And that's a playoff contender. Like they're going to be probably favorites for that 8 seed in the East. And he's a good scorer. Defensively, he's not really there, but if he gets in a really professional playoff atmosphere type team, he can maybe push for it. and he's gonna have a lot to learn, and he's gonna have a lot of opportunities with John Wall and Bradley Beal opening the court for him and feeding him. And he's 22, but this doesn't matter with the Wizards team because they're trying to win now. So I think this is a great pickup, and they're going to be so happy with it.
Yeah, he's a lock to the Wizards. A team that needs another sure thing, a sure part of the rotation, and kind of fits with their timeline too, because Hachimura was an older player when they drafted
Yeah,
him, a little bit older, and that'd be a fun offensive team right away. Like you said,
yeah,
could make the playoffs right away. Probably would make the playoffs right away. Okay, so coming in at 10, we got the Suns, and if the draft pans out the way that it has so far, they're taking Tyrese Halliburton and running. They're they are so happy with that Halliburton pick. He's exactly what they need because he is the type of point guard that every single analyst who has broken his game down says that he needs to play alongside a primary ball handler, primary shot creator, and
that's Devin
the
Booker.
Suns have one of the best on-ball shooting guards in the league in Devin Booker, obviously, and we all know that he needs to put on some muscle and needs to develop and grow a little bit as a player and as an athlete. So he would play a year or two behind Ricky Rubio, slide right into
Yeah,
that starting rotation in a couple of years.
yeah, that's what Tyrese Halliburton's people should be wishing for.
Yeah,
Because the ability to play behind Ricky Rubio, your rookie year and your second year, and then step into a starting role with
yeah,
DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker as offensive options for you to feed, like that's perfect for his career. And he would be so happy.
oh
And
yeah,
so would the Suns, because the Suns
yeah,
are young everywhere. They have a young power
yep,
forward in Cam Johnson, young small forward in Miles Bridges, young center in DeAndre Ayton, young shooting guard in Devin Booker, and a young sixth man in Kelly Oubre. And now they just get the young point guard because Ricky Rubio is not young. They
yep,
get the young point guard, and they're set. They're happy with this pick. He's happy with this pick. They love it. It's a great match.
yep.
But now we finally got the Spurs, first time
Mm,
ever in our whole lifetime that
yeah,
they're in the lottery.
yeah,
And they're going to be looking at someone that complements what they have, but they really don't know what they have too because we don't know if DeMar is returning or Marcus Aldridge is returning. So they're just going to pick up Patrick Williams,
mm,
someone that's going to be in the NBA for a while, someone that needs, what does he need help with? Shooting threes and creating. The Spurs system is going to help you make that. He's
yep.
happy with this pick. I think they're happy with this pick too. He has a lot of potential to grow, and he could be a decent contributor right away too.
Yeah, at 12, Patrick Williams uh, in this group of players probably has the most star potential, but is extremely raw. And like you said, um, needs to develop that 3 point shot and all that stuff. But he
Hmm.
has shown a lot of skills and could looks like he could be like a secondary ball handler in the future. Going to that Spurs system, I think it's a perfect fit. He's
Yeah,
not going to be good his first year. He might not be good in his second year, but he could end up being a cornerstone of that franchise.
yeah,
I
for
like the
sure.
pick. Okay, so another team that's in an interesting situation is the Sacramento Kings coming in at 12. They kind of could go anywhere with this pick, and I had Patrick Williams as option one for them.
Yeah,
If he's off the board, I think I would go Devin Vassell. So Devin
yeah,
Vassell, 3 and D, 3 and D plus, got a little bit of handle, a little bit of shot creation skills. Needs to beef up to be able to guard wings and guys that are just not point guards, but has the quickness and the ability to do that. Did shoot well in college, and that's why he was higher on draft boards earlier in the year. But videos started circulating of a very suspicious looking jumper.
yeah,
Hopefully, either that was just a joke or his shooting actually somehow got better with that form. I don't know. But if I'm the Kings, I'm feeling pretty good about taking Devin Vassell at 12.
yeah, yeah. I think he's the best player left on of like sure thing wise
Yep.
because he's definitely going to be an NBA player.
Yep.
And with Buddy Hield's contract being blown out and he's basically requesting trades publicly, this could be a quick Buddy Hield replacement and he'll be pretty good right away too. So I like that pick a lot.
Yep.
And with 13, we got the Pelicans, a very, very interesting team. And this pick's going to be very interesting as well because they are going to pick up Alexis Polsowski, the 7 foot
Really?
Serbian.
Alexei
Yeah,
Pokusevski.
Pokiaskevski.
Yeah.
The reason I'm picking him up is because you have everything. You
Yeah.
have a power forward, superstar, game changer. You have a small forward, game all star. You have a decent shooting guard rotation with Nikhil and Josh Hart. You have your point guard in Lonzo Ball. So let's take a risk on this guy who could be the best center fit for Zion. If he bulks up, he could shoot threes. He's agile enough to switch. He could just get out of Zion's way, help rebound, help play defense, shoot threes, has enough skills to pass, facilitate. So it's just a risk, but you're in a position to take that risk. And if he pans out, you have one of the best starting young six core in the leagues.
I like it. I like it. Long shot. Probably looking at spending some time in the G League initially.
Yeah.
Uh, but Young fits the timeline of that team, and if he becomes anywhere near what people think he could become, he would be the perfect center fit besides Zion. And if he doesn't pan out, whatever, they kind of have everything. They don't really have a need as a team.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so somehow the Celtics are drafting in the lottery again, like they do
Mhm.
every year, even though they're in the conference finals every year. And I think if the draft goes down the way that it has so far for us, I think they're taking RJ Hampton. I think
Ooh.
their starting rotation, their starting lineup has everything except a really good big, and they're not getting a really good big at this point in the draft. What we saw in the playoffs was a lack of depth off the bench, a lot of Brad
Yeah.
Wanamaker, a lot of Semi Ojale, and it was not some really good looking basketball. I think RJ Hampton could come off the bench, get a lot of good opportunities playing off of their stars, and have an opportunity to develop into his body and maybe eventually replace Gordon Hayward in the starting lineup. Who knows? And I think that would just be a lock. Some energy scoring off the bench right away, give him a chance to polish his game, grow into his body a little bit. I think that's a lock for the Celtics.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's has probably a lot of potential at that 14 spot,
Yep.
and he could just come off and be a good sixth man, and
Yep.
that's kind of what you want with the Celtics team. So I think that's a good fit. Yeah. So the next pick, we have the Orlando Magic picking at 15, and this is interesting because they have a lot of these wings with Aaron Gordon, Isaac. So I'm not sure if they're gonna go for a wing. That's why I have them picking Tyrese Maxey.
Mm.
He's a 6'4" shooting guard with a 6'8" wingspan. He can score. And I think you just had someone like him come off the bench and eventually replace Evan Fournier just to be the backcourt next to Marco Fultz, who's not really a scorer, who's kind of more of a facilitator. And you have this really interesting dynamic of a good scorer, a good a good playmaker, and you have both decent on defense. It's not the best, but it's a future, and the ability to make a future at pick 15 is kind of incredible.
I agree. Like you said, last thing they need is another 6'8" switchy wing who can maybe shoot
Yeah.
threes, maybe not. That's the last thing they need. So guard is probably the way to go. And I like the Tyrese Maxey pick. Like you said, more of a score first
Mhm.
point guard. He's kind of a shooting guard, but Markel Fultz is a really big point guard
Yeah.
and doesn't really shoot it that well. I like that fit. I don't think Orlando is going to feel great about whoever they draft at this spot,
Hmm.
but I would feel
Yeah.
pretty good about Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got the Blazers coming in on the clock at number 16, and they could go a couple of ways with this. I think I would draft Precious Achua, the
Yeah.
6'9" explosive center who probably projects to be a bench player, maybe his whole career. The comp is Montrezl Harrell. A lot of pick and roll potential, very explosive. Could be a really good defender for his size. Not going to be able to guard 7 footers, but I think right away could get some buckets off the bench for them. Just provide another presence inside to take some attention off the guards. Give Dame Lillard another pick and roll option right away, and maybe in the future he becomes a Montrezl Harrell level player, or maybe even better. Who knows?
Yeah. And with Hassan Whiteside probably not re-signing with his team, it's just good to have another big body that can soak up the minutes, protect the rim run, just do all those simple tasks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So with the 17th pick, is it Dallas? Oh no, It's the Minnesota Timberwolves
Yeah.
picking again. So now you have a team that has their point guard, has a shooting guard, has their center. You want to just pick someone that can play defense, shoot threes. That's kind of hard to find here.
Mm-hmm.
But Sadiq Bey,
Yep.
6'8" power forward, 6'11" wingspan, 45% from three on 6.7 attempts.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a lock. Like he just fits what they need.
100%. 6'7", NBA ready body, can defend
Mhm.
multiple positions, 45% from three. Don't tell me anymore. He's a lock for the Timberwolves at 17.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And maybe he doesn't end up being their starting small forward, power forward of the future, but he's going to be a good NBA player. You know that. And he's going
Yeah,
to at least be able to come off the bench and not suck. So,
yeah,
lock. Okay, so now the Mavericks are at 18. And at this point, you're not going to be looking for a future star to put beside Luka and Kristaps Porzingis. You just kind of need, similar to the Timberwolves, you need a guy who can come in, be part of the rotation, play some defense, knock down some threes. And I had Sadiq Bey as the primary option here. And if he's gone, I would go with Josh Green. 3 and D,
yeah,
hit some threes, play some D. Nothing past that, really.
yeah. And he's big. And with Maxi Kleber being in so much trade rumors, because everyone seems to like his defense and his switchability,
Yep,
he can maybe come in and replace Maxi. Maybe not start, but take
yep,
some of the minutes that Maxi played. And yeah, he just fits. He just fits what they have going on.
yep.
I like that pick. So now we're looking at the late end of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
The Nets. The Nets are looking and they're like, what can we do? Like, do we need someone that could really play for our team? Not really. And for that, I think they're just going to pick up the guy with the most potential, and that's Kira Lewis Jr.
Yeah,
Six, 6'3" point guard. He's 165.
yep.
So he's not playing in the NBA, but they don't need him to. He could just develop off their bench, develop in the G League, and they're good with that, so they could trade him on in the future. I think he has the most potential, and I think he's kind of a lock when you get to those teams that aren't looking to use their rookie, but rather just get the highest potential rookie to trade.
Yeah, completely agree. One of the most boomer bust prospects in this draft, like you said in a previous podcast, has some John Wall potential, but also he's
Mhm.
165 pounds, so he could
Yeah,
not even be able to play in the G League. Who knows? I like that. You bet on it, and maybe in 3-4 years he's up to 185, 195 if you're
yeah,
lucky, and he's your starting point guard of the future. I love it.
yeah,
And if he ends up being a bust, no big deal. You're still a championship caliber team.
yeah,
So at number 20, I feel pretty similarly about Miami. They're a team that doesn't really have a major need that can be filled in the draft. They were obviously in the finals this year. And for that reason, I have them taking Jaden McDaniels. And he is a
mhm,
long, skinny 3-4 who needs to put on a lot of weight, needs to clean up his game a little bit. But probably out of all the players left in the draft, has the most star potential, but is probably looking at spending some time in the G League and not playing real minutes for a while. I
yeah,
think you take Jaden McDaniels, let him develop, and maybe in 3 years he's part of your actual rotation and is a really good player. And if not, it's no big deal. You're still a championship team.
yeah. He it's the Heat, same thing as the Nets.
Yeah,
They're just gonna take people with potential,
yeah,
and yeah, that fits perfectly. And then right after them, you have the 76ers. So you've already picked Josh Green, and he's off the boards.
yeah.
So they're looking at Jalen Smith now,
Okay.
someone who's 6'10", can play alongside Embiid, can play for Embiid if he gets hurt. Just come in, shoot, play good and next to the non-shooter that is Ben Simmons, and just be a nice bench player. Be a nice rotational piece for them.
I like it. He's not a strong defender. Defense is his weak
Mhm.
spot, but he kind of doesn't have a weakness on offense. He's a versatile offensive player, can create a little bit, can shoot, and I think he would fit in nicely as a bench player on that team.
Yeah,
All right, so now we have at picking at number 22 another really good team, the Denver Nuggets, with Josh Green off the board, with Kira Lewis off the board because I kind of thought about him with them too. I would go with Leandro Bolmaro. Leandro Bolmaro is a 6'7" combo guard who can kind of do everything you want out of a guard, including play some defense. He just can't shoot.
Yeah,
And you let him play in the G League. We've said G League for a lot of these players. I think that is going to be that's going to be a
yeah,
theme with some of these guys. You let him play in the G League. Maybe he continues playing overseas a little bit, and if he can develop that 3-point shot, he could be your starting two guard in like a few years. Play beside
yeah,
Jamal Murray, who's a scorer for his point guard, and then you got a big shooting guard who can play make. I think that would be perfect. And if he doesn't pan out, like we said for the last two teams, doesn't matter.
yeah. I think that's a easy pick. I kind of think that's a lock too.
Yeah,
Like I don't see him going any higher, but I don't see him going any lower.
yeah, I agree.
So I kind of see this happening in the real NBA draft.
Yeah,
But now we got to move on to the Utah Jazz, and they are so happy if this is how it pans out, because Cole Anthony just
yeah.
dropped to them, and they are happy as they could be, because now they got someone that could learn under Mike Conley, try to play next to Donovan Mitchell, someone who will be able to provide solid minutes as a backup already. And you kind of need that since we know Mike Conley's injury history.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like a match made for both teams and player. He gets minutes on a contender. They get someone who could already play in the NBA. And I think that's going to be a lock.
Like you said, this is a match made in heaven for both teams, or for both sides. Cole Anthony is a guy who has a lot of potential. He isn't too much. Isn't a crazy playmaker yet, but he has shown some playmaking potential. He is a really good scorer and really good shooter out of the point guard position, but there are questions, and he definitely needs to develop. Who better to develop behind than one of the more well respected veteran point guards in the league in Mike Conley? Play beside a guy who's always going to be the primary ball handler and scorer in Donovan Mitchell. Like you said, is honestly a little kind of NBA ready at this
Yeah.
out of all these guards in the draft because he could come in and hit some shots right away and create some plays right away, at least for himself. I think it's a lock. Perfect.
Mhm.
And so 24 is the Milwaukee Bucks, and I am so happy if this happens because I'm taking Tyrell Terry at this point. Tyrell Terry is a guy who we didn't even have in our top 30 prospects,
Yeah.
but I've been hearing a lot about him lately.
Okay.
He's only 6'3", but he outside of Aaron Nesmith is probably the best shooter in the draft. Can kind of create can hit ridiculous shots, create his own shots midair, whatever. Is going to get absolutely murdered on defense because he's tiny,
Yeah.
but he's a guy who can just be a microwave scorer coming off the bench, get you buckets, and I think he would be a lock to Milwaukee at 24.
I'm surprised you didn't take Nico Mannion.
Yeah, I had him as another option, but I think Tyrell Terry is a guy who can be good right away because of his shot, and that's what the Bucks need.
Mhm. Yeah, we'd be surprised if the Bucks take this selection. But if the Bucks do end up taking this selection, they are going to pick a guard
Yeah,
to kind of they want that young backcourt to develop while
yeah,
Giannis is still kind of developing because he's only 25.
mm-hmm.
So a Dante DiVincenzo and a guard from this draft, Kyle Terry, would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
It'll be pretty interesting to pair next to Eric Bledsoe and trade offers too.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
100%.
So now we have the OKC Thunder. And as much as it pains me to say, I want this guy to be on the Raptors, but Robert Woodward is getting
Robert
picked up.
Woodard.
He is gone. He's off the board. OKC get someone that can shoot threes, play defense, has a good wingspan. He's not going to be a superstar,
Yeah,
but he's going to be able to do his job. And he might start. He might start because Danilo Gallinari's gone. We think Chris Paul's gone, so we think Louis Dort's going to switch to the two,
mm-hmm.
and Shea's going to switch to the point guard. Terrence Ferguson at the three. Robert Woodward might be given that power forward spot, even though he's a natural small forward at 6'7",
Yeah,
230. He can
yeah,
still play power forward,
he can.
and he might just get that role, and he might just be a Cam Johnson-esque player for the OKC Thunder.
Exactly. Robert Woodard, 6'7", can guard both front court spot or both forward spots. He's athletic and explosive and shot 43% and has an NBA ready body. That's all
Yeah,
you need to say. All right, so Boston is drafting again at 26, and I think they basically draft a guy who can be as good as Ennis Cantor right away, and that's
Mhm.
Vernon Carey Jr. You
Let's
draft Vernon.
go.
Let's go. Vernon Carey Jr. is the sleeper of the draft, the best post scorer in the draft by a mile. And if he
Yeah,
makes any strides at all on defense, and cleans up his playmaking just a little bit, and continues to improve from three, he could look like one of the most, like we said, one of the most slept on players in the draft because he's by far the best post scorer, polished post scorer, NBA ready body right now.
yeah, and with both their picks so far, they're building a decent bench.
Yeah,
They're adding RJ Hampton and Vernon Carey to their bench. Whew. And if Gordon Hayward resigns or
yeah,
re up with them,
yeah,
that's kind of a good bench rotation they're gonna have. And it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna add a lot of dynamics to them. And I
yeah,
love that pick.
yeah. That's a lock. If he's there at 26, I think that's a lock.
Yeah. So at 27, we got the New York Knicks again. And now that they don't have their point guard of the future,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna look towards the point guards that are available, and they're gonna notice Theo Maladin is not yet drafted, and they're gonna be like, he has size. He shot 36% on threes, 79% on free throws. He didn't play a lot, and he lacks the strength. But we're gonna sign Fred VanVleet. He could learn under
Yeah,
him, and if he does add the weight, he could play the two guard spot. And he's going to be a good bench player. They're going to take the risk on him because if they do miss out on Fred VanVleet, at least you have someone to start at point guard with
yeah,
Theo Madeline.
yeah,
So I think that's a lock for them.
yeah. The I think the Knicks at like if they do go with this pick, it's going to be we missed on Frank Ntilikina. Let's take a guy
Yeah,
who looks exactly the same as Frank Ntilikina and hope that
yeah,
he's what we wanted Frank Ntilikina to be.
to be, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I could see them going with Nico Mannion at the spot
yeah,
too, but
yeah.
it's either one. I like either one.
Either one, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now with the 28th pick, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, and they're kind of in a different position than some of the other contenders because they're not nearly as deep at every position as the other championship level teams. So I would go Nico Mannion with the Lakers. I think you bet on his jumper, and if that jumper comes along, who knows? He could be your starting point guard of the future, or at least a good bench point guard, and that's something that we know they need, just depth off the bench.
Nico and Caruso. Oh man, people are going to be loving that.
Yeah, yeah,
When they're on the floor together with LeBron and AD, that's
yeah,
going to be a fan favorite pick.
100%.
And I like that pick because he has a jumper. And to play alongside LeBron, that's
Yeah,
all you kind of need.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's a good pick in my opinion. And now we come to our team, our home team, the
Mm-hmm.
Toronto Raptors. And this is a need pick in my opinion. We have no centers on the roster currently. Marc Gasol is going to Spain. Chris Boucher might get a big contract and leave. Serge Ibaka, we're trying to re-sign him, but the Lakers and other top team contenders are going for him. So Isaiah Stewart is here.
Mm.
He's kind of just the energy big, but he's a big body. He could give us some minutes. He could play alongside Pascal Siakam, and he's kind of just a fit pick, but you hope he develops a three, and he just becomes perfect if he develops a three. But you're the Toronto Raptors, you're picking 29th, you have the opportunity to pick with hopes. So I think they just could take this chance on this young big.
Yeah, he's less of a sure thing than other guys at
Hmm.
this point in the draft, but like you said, you're drafting for fit and you're drafting on hope, and the Raptors are one of the best player development teams
Yeah,
uh, in the league, maybe the best player development team in the league, and yeah, I feel pretty good about that pick. So if I'm Boston drafting again at number 30, I like they could go anywhere they want. That I think they would go maybe Trey Jones here. I could be
mm,
talked out of it, but Trey
yeah,
Jones is a guy who's going to be a good defender probably right away, at least on guards, and is a good passer. And if he can just hit some shots, is he going to be much worse than Brad Wanamaker? Just kind of be the same as Brad
yeah,
Wanamaker off the bench. And then you're looking at a bench trio of Trey Jones, Vernon Carey Jr., and RJ
RJ
Hampton.
Hampton.
Let RJ Hampton be the primary ball handler on that team. Let Trey Jones just play some defense, knock down some threes, make some basic playmaking reads and stuff like that. And I think that's a pretty decent looking bench.
Yeah. The only other player would be Cassius Winston.
Yeah.
Depends who they value more. But I think Trey Jones extra 2 inches. I think they're
Yeah.
just going to go for that little extra bit of height because they already have Carson Edwards, who's
Yeah, exactly.
5'11".
If they didn't have Carson Edwards, I would have gone Cassius Winston, but
Yeah,
because of that, I go Trey Jones. Yeah, but it could
yeah,
really
and
go anywhere with this pick
Trey
if they
Jones
keep
has
it.
been, yeah, he's been in the NBA for a while too, and he kind of reminds me of Norris Cole, like that player that's just going to come into a championship team and kind of just like Patrick McCaw, Norris Cole, like they come
Yeah,
onto a championship team and they win like 2 straight.
yeah.
So the Celtics will be happy if that happens. So yeah, I can see that
So
happening.
you said he's been in the NBA for a while. What did you mean by
Oh,
that?
I meant he's been in the NCAA for a while,
Oh, yeah. You're right.
like
Yeah,
2 years there.
yeah. 2 years. Definitely
Yeah,
needed that second year, but improved a lot in the second year. Yeah,
hmm
I definitely agree with that.
yeah,
Yeah, Patrick McCaw. Yeah, like you said, he come to the league, win 3 straight chips
yeah,
like Patrick McCaw, and I don't know, maybe he's in the GOAT conversation. You never know.
yeah. Maybe he is.
All right, so that does it for the first round of the NBA draft. Obviously, there are going to be a couple of trades, but I honestly feel like pretty good. I think after like 8, I think every team
Yeah,
actually feels pretty good about who they get. There's a lot of good role players who can be good right away,
hmm
and the draft is coming up on the in 8 days, so a week from tomorrow. Trades are going to start happening really soon, and then 4 days after we got free agency, and then
yeah,
pretty much a month from then, these guys are going to be playing in the NBA. So training camp's probably going to start like 2 weeks after that or something. It's going to be a crazy turnaround. We still don't know where our Raptors are going to be playing,
yeah,
and I don't think anyone really knows anything. But at least we know the season's going to be 72 games. Starts on December 22nd, and thank God we don't have a 6 month off season.
yeah. And it's gonna be great because our next podcast is gonna just be discussing all the trades that happen on November 16th
Yeah,
because there's gonna be a lot of them.
yeah. We could see the number one pick moved. I don't think so. I would just take Edwards
hmm
if I'm the Wolves,
Same.
but and I really want to see who the Warriors take if they do decide to keep that pick, and if they don't keep that pick, who are they going to be landing? Where are they going to be moving? It's going to be really interesting. And we're
Yeah,
going to have a pod the day before the draft, so we're going to be able to catch you guys up on all that stuff. But until then, thank you for listening to this, and be sure to come back for our final draft coverage episode, and we're going to be getting into trades and free agency right after that.